This is Ari Kaplan, and I'm speaking today with Jennifer Bantelman, the Vice President of Customer Experience and Thought Leadership at Zapproved, for a special E-Discovery Unfiltered edition of the Reinventing Professionals podcast. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Ari. I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm well, and it's a privilege to speak with you. Tell us about your background and how your role at Zapproved has changed since we last spoke.
Sure. So I am a longtime Zapprovian. I've been with the company I'm into my ninth year already, which is just crazy. Seems both longer and shorter than that. And the biggest change since we last talked is that I've actually gone back to my roots at Zapproved. I started on the customer experience side, really building out all of our programs to support our customers. And I've actually gone back to that. So my current role encompasses everything from pre-sale technical conversations, making sure that we're positioning our products the way that that is going to resonate with our prospective customers. And then now I'm actually responsible for our whole customer life cycle and making sure that we are giving our customers what they need. And then the part that hasn't changed about my job is I do still lead all of our content and our faculty for the Prex conference and other industry events.
Given your dynamic role, you're accustomed to change. And I'm wondering, looking ahead to 2022, how do you see corporate legal teams adapting to this period of uncertainty?
So it's actually been really interesting. I think it's given a lot of challenges, and it's given some really cool opportunities as well. The challenge that I am hearing universally is the trend that we were already seeing before the pandemic of having to do more with less. That's really been exacerbated with the Great Resignation, right? Every company that I talk to is doing the same or more in their workloads, and they have less staff to do it with, just due to turnover and also due to budget and all of that. So that's the challenge. The opportunity is that people are, especially in management, being more flexible about how work gets done than ever before, especially with maybe legal leaders who were less open to folks working remotely. That was forced over the past couple of years and has been a really big shift that I think has opened up a lot of exciting opportunities. We also have seen a lot more standardization of using the cloud for your systems. That's become a huge asset, not a liability, because cloud systems are so much easier to manage and deploy for those remote workers.
In addition to standardization, one topic that came up more often this year in the 2021 E-Discovery Unfiltered research was automation. How can that help teams who are trying to maximize their hybrid work environment?
Yeah, so that's something that's really exciting because automation is really the only way to solve the challenges that people are dealing with, right? You're remote. You're doing more with less, both from a budget and people perspective, but you still have to manage your costs and risks the same, right? So how can you actually do more with fewer people and fewer dollars? The only answer to that is really automation. So taking especially those redundant or rote tasks that you really don't need a human to look at in order to perform, and just automating those can really, really free up people to focus more on the highest and best use of their time.
Security was also one of the most common topics in the E-Discovery Unfiltered interviews. What can law department leaders specifically do to most effectively manage security and privacy while working remotely?
There are really two components that I see really high performing legal teams and legal leaders do. The first is being proactive The earlier you can make sure that your processes do meet security and privacy requirements at your company, the better. So, as an example, a couple of years ago, we'd only see less than half of our customers do a security review as part of the purchase process. We're a software provider, and it wasn't the norm. It was really just the big companies or the highly regulated companies that were doing security and privacy reviews. That has shifted dramatically. It is more like 100% of our prospective customers who now do security and privacy assessments. And that's just a really good indicator of the shift that we've seen, both from we have a lot less control over what employees are doing, on their home Wi-Fi and that kind of thing. So we need to make sure that systems do meet security and privacy requirements. It's also just those are getting a lot more visibility across organizations. So enterprises are really focused on it. The other component that legal leaders can really do is engage security, privacy, and compliance teams as stakeholders early in their processes. Treat it like a joint project, not like something that is just a roadblock that you have to plow through. And I think you're going to have a much better time.
63% of the legal professionals who participated in the 2021 E-Discovery Unfiltered report said that they expected to transition to a cloud-based review platform. How have cloud-based solutions helped teams adapt to a new remote work reality?
I think the big thing is just how accessible cloud-based review tends to be. It tends to be much easier to access, much easier to get data into and to take a look at. And just generally speaking, what I think is really attractive to in-house folks with cloud-based reviews, it tends to be easier to use. Just the usability aspect of it, you don't tend to need the same level of certification and trainings that you might need in some of those powerhouse on-prem or legacy review systems where you had to engage outside counsel because it was too clunky for you to be able to manage internally if you didn't have people who were in there day in and day out. So I think the really big area that's opened that up to in-house is just the ease of use and the lower barrier to entry to actually getting in those outside firms.
We've spoken about automation, about cloud, about security. What are the key considerations for corporate legal teams evaluating software in 2022?
I think something that can't really be overlooked beyond everything that we've talked about is partnership. You really, really want to find software vendors that go beyond just like vendor, here's your software, we just turn it on and then they just leave you. It's really, really important, especially since you're going to be dealing with probably higher turnover than you've experienced in the past. So you're going to have new users, you're going to need to have a communication and a dialogue back and forth. I think partnership is something that is really, really critical when you're engaging with vendors is what do you want this relationship to look like and how are you going to be set up for success? The other areas are really just the areas that we talked about. Ease of use. You want users who, you're not going to be able to sit next to them for 3 weeks while they're onboarding. So something that your users are actually going to be able to adopt is really, really crucial. And then also, of course, those security and those risk aspects as well. You want to make sure that it meets your standards. And so the best thing you can do is really begin with the end in mind and understand what problems you're trying to solve, what success looks like, and then engage with vendors with all of that in mind so that you can really make sure that you're going to get what you need.
I'm Ari Kaplan, and I have had the privilege today of speaking with Jennifer Bantelman, the Vice President of Customer Experience and Thought Leadership at Zapproved, for this special E-Discovery Unfiltered edition of the Reinventing Professionals podcast. Jennifer, thanks so very much.